Here's the new one. It's called quiet cracking, and it's a new, stupid corporate buzzword. First, we had quiet quitting, then we had career cushioning, and now we have quiet cracking. Quiet cracking is really nothing new, but in today's video, I'm going to explain to you what quiet cracking is, help you identify if you're suffering from it, and then offer up some strategies, ideas, and things that you can do to dissipate your quiet cracking if, in fact, you are suffering from it. 54% of workers today report that they are quietly cracking in their corporate jobs in corporate America today. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to define formally what quiet cracking is. Now, Monica can tell you exactly what it is, and basically, you have a shitty job that you hate and you're burnt out. But because this is being recognized in HR and different research firms and things like that, I'm going to validate how you feel, and we can start to affirm if you are actually, in fact, quietly cracking at work. So let me share with you what I was able to find. I'll share my screen with you. All right, share. All right, so according to ChatGPT, quiet cracking, showing up to work while quietly falling apart inside. I'm guessing a lot of us have done that. So again, Gen Xers, nothing new for us. We're warriors. We've been through this before, but a lot of different generations are quietly cracking. They're also doing micro retirement, which is something else, but let's keep going on quiet cracking. So more precisely, it's a slow, persistent slide into unhappiness and discouragement that makes people disengage and think about leaving, even if they're still performing on the surface. The term was popularized by Talent LMS, whose survey found, again, 54% of workers experience it to some degree. It's a little bit different than quiet quitting, and the way I define it, it's defined here by quiet quitting is that you're setting boundaries and you're just doing the minimum at your job, whereas quiet cracking is really more about burnout. The way I like to think about it is if you're quiet cracking and you feel that you're quiet cracking, you are still being a loyal, good employee, doing your job, working hard, feeling stressed out, losing sleep, being burned out because you are an honest person, you're a good employee, and you're doing all that you can to make your job successful, to perform to, be a company standards and be a value add. That's really what I think it is, but we can go with the definition here. What I think is really actually very important is, now that we've defined it, is um, why is this happening? It's a little bit different. And I've got some interesting information that, you might find interesting. And that is, why is it happening? Well, let me just step back a little bit. It all started really in the housing bust in 2008. I've got the data to prove it to you. So let me share with you that next idea here and the data that proves it. It did start in 2008. Okay. So it started in 2008. It actually started, and there was a shift in corporate America, and this is exactly what happened. Because of the housing bust in 2008, and if we all remember those layoffs, so Gen X, we've lived through those layoffs too, but you can see the chart here, and this is according to the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2008, when the housing crash happened, Q2 of 2008, it spiked up a little bit. But what it really was it was an attitude in corporate America where they used to look long term before moving to the drastic step of laying a lot of people off. They used to look 2 or 3 quarters downfield before making those decisions. That all changed in 2008, and you can see it here where the big mass, spike in layoffs. But then you see it here quarterly again in 2024 to 2025. And you can see in 2025 that that's now how companies are thinking. And essentially they're really reporting more to Wall Street and their shareholders than they are worried about their employees and about their workers. So that's one reason why this is happening. The trend started back in 2008. Now it's accelerating even more because of poor economic conditions. And of course, now we've got the looming impact of AI affecting the job market. So that is partly to blame and partly why you are quiet cracking. So, but anyway, companies are not really even hiding it anymore. Now that we've established that this kind of all started in 2008, I want to double down a little bit more on it for you and share with you what companies are actually doing. I'm going to share something about Microsoft. Big surprise if you followed my channel. But here's what Microsoft is openly saying. Microsoft, my favorite, we need a lot less employees and a lot more AI infrastructure. So that is their corporate plan. Again, I am just somebody, I really see myself as a field reporter. I'm just coming back to everybody, trying to help them, sharing what I'm seeing in the field, especially because I am in tech, and trying to give you the heads up so that you can get 1 or 2 steps ahead and get a strategy and a plan in place. But Microsoft is telling you right here, we don't want that many employees anymore. Microsoft is not the only one. There is also, let's see here. There's also Amazon. Amazon doesn't want employees to stay at their jobs for too long. And essentially, if you dig down a little bit into this article, I think what's important here is you'll say, Jeff Bezos, the article didn't specify the exact timeline, but the former HR chief of operations mentioned in the article that Jeff Bezos believed people are lazy, and apparently they get lazier over time. So, I mean, there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. Started in 2008. Now they're doubling down on it. Now they're not hiding from it. They're openly talking about it. So let's going back to my opening statement at this video is, what can you do about it? Well, the first thing that you can do about it is realize that the 9 to 5 job and the job market has changed. Realize that the 9 to 5, what we used to know, is gone. It's not coming back, and it's just a new world that we live in. In fact, the way I like to sort of frame it is that you now work for yourself and your company is your customer. So maybe you work for a really shitty customer right now and, they're just a crap customer, but just accept it. Alcoholics, what do they say to alcoholics? Is admitting that you have a problem is the first step. That's the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous, is to admit that you're powerless over alcohol. Well, we're powerless over corporate America. And once you admit that and accept that, then that first is going to probably help dissipate your stress to some degree, but then it's going to move you to the next step. And that's the other thing that I want to share with you is get a game plan. Once you have a game plan, once you've accepted what's going on in corporate America, you could start to get a game plan together. And one of the very first, because I am still working, a lot of you are still working, one of the very first things in my game plan is to do simply this, is that I just don't take these things as seriously anymore. I know that it's probably very temporary. There's no, big retirement party or anything like that that's going to happen. And I just don't take it that seriously anymore. And as a result, I'm actually having a lot of fun at work. I don't take it very seriously. And in fact, what I do is I start to look at the absurdity of all of it. And I want to give you an example. There's this one guy who's on my team, and I'm in sales, and all of you salespeople out there will know exactly what I'm talking about. We go on our, forecasting meetings where we have to get in front of management, talk about our deals, talk about what we're doing with our deals, where is it in Salesforce, and yada, yada. The whole thing. Well, I've got this one coworker, and he's the best. And whenever it gets to him and he has to start talking about his deals, he never knows what the hell he's talking about. He never updates Salesforce. And it's just so funny to listen to him because he's always kind of mumbling, and they get to him and they're like, okay, so and so, well, what's going on with this deal and that deal? And he just seems like, well, I didn't update Salesforce. I meant to do that. And I just get such a crack. I mean, you can imagine. And so there's a levity and a lightness once you kind of just don't take it as seriously anymore, because, it is what it is. So, again, recognize the job market has changed, accept it, get a game plan, don't take it so seriously. Start to have some fun at work. But here's real, stick with me now, because now here's an actual real option for you, especially if you're over 55. So listen up, Gen X. You have choices. We all have choices. We're going to plan our next step. And this is very, very important. I was delighted to hear this, especially because I just turned 55 last week. So there's something called the rule of 55. And let me go ahead and share this screen. And this is good news. So here's what the rule of 55 is. Essentially, what this means is that you can start to you can basically retire early without the penalty. Very, very specific. It has to happen. You have to be 55 years old or older. You have to have left your job, whether you were fired or you quit or you were laid off or whatever it may be, but you can start to dip into the 401k from your current company without the penalty. So you can start to make withdrawals from your 401k to perhaps fund your next side hustle, your next adventure, to keep you afloat, whatever it might be, whatever you decide that's right for you. That is a real solid option. Again, I'm not giving you financial advice. I want to be clear on that, but I want you to be aware this is a really kind of a little known thing, and it's something that you might be able to take advantage of. And if we look at it a little bit closer and check with your plan at work and your accountant and all those kind of things. But you must leave your job during the calendar year you turn 55 or after. So I'm assuming you could be 56, 60, whatever, to qualify for the rule of 55. If you're in public sector or a public service employee, it's actually lowered to 50. Gen Xers a little younger, it's lowered to 50, which I think is a good thing. You must leave your job in order to start taking withdrawals. However, you can return to work later. So you can start to dip into your 401k. There's a little bit of a buffer there for you because you don't have to take those penalties. And you can continue to, look for work. So I think that's a great thing. Caveat to this is it's only the 401k for your last job or your present job. So if you have 401ks from previous jobs and things like that, you can't go back to 2 or 3 jobs ago. You will pay penalties on that. If it's an IRA, you will pay penalties on that. But still, I think it's really, really something that's wonderful and maybe provide some comfort or relief or feeling better about your situation because you do have this option if you're over 55. So, that's something that I thought was, really, really great news. You all know I am really excited about building side hustles. This is where I think AI is fantastic. And there's so many great AIs out there. ChatGPT is kind of, a generic AI, and it does some great things. Claude does some great things, but I also want to share with you a couple of others that I found. Recently, I found this one. It's really cool. And you could start a side hustle with nothing. I've actually started to build an app, and that's going to be my next video. It's been very simple. It's a kick-ass app so far. Have to do a little bit more tweaking on it, but watch for, coming soon, my next app. But this is a great, where are you? It's called Lindy AI. Super cool. So it is this app where you have all these different use cases. And if we go back to the home page here, and I've been playing around with this. I think this one is really cool. It's Agentic AI. You could build a personal website in a flash, outbound sales calls, LinkedIn outreach. Maybe you use it for networking for a job or to land an interview because newsflash, here's another thing, chock full of hidden gems for you guys tonight, but networking is dead. And there's a reason networking is dead because everybody who's currently working, they don't want to refer you because they're trying to keep their jobs. So it's a lot more resistance from your network than there used to be. I'm not saying don't use it at all, but just heads up, they're kind of, being a little bit protective of their own jobs, especially if they're in our age group. So just something to think about. So You can use it for sales, content creation, which I've started to play around with that a little bit, and that's really fun. You can write a newsletter. Maybe you can build a digital product or what have you. And you can do all of this stuff while you have your current job. So really, those are some of the strategies and things like that that I wanted to share. So play around with this. This is a really cool website, and there's a ton more of them. But anyway, that is just something I wanted to offer everybody, just some ideas. It's not worth it to lose sleep at night and be stressed out and all those kind of things over a corporate America that I just showed you is unmasked out in the open. They don't want as many employees, except that the 9 to 5 and just the whole landscape has changed and we just live in a new world. I think that many of us who are quietly cracking have not yet come to the realization, and they're still kind of holding on to the 8-track tape that was of yesteryear. And what I would like, and the reason I make these videos, is for you to get in the game and understand the new playing field. And once you understand the new playing field, I think that you can start to pull together a strategy and have some relief and enjoy life again. Because it's really, suffering, quietly cracking, having heart attacks, gaining weight, drinking, smoking, eating Cheetos at night. It's not worth it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you like this video and you want to hear more and you like my content, it really helps me to grow the channel if you subscribe or like or engage. Take care.